It's PM at 5 p.m.
A 2-year-old boy from Sidmouth in Devon is at the centre of a new row over euthanasia. He was born with a serious heart abnormality, meaning he's unlikely to live.
This is James Cox with the headlines. The father of a brain-damaged child has insisted he should have the right to end his son's suffering.
You're tuned to Gemini FM.
The parents of a severely brain-damaged Sidmouth boy with a defective heart have appealed to medical authorities to let their son die by lethal injection.
Dear.
We know that Ian's going to die. He's had a terrible life, and to then make him have an absolutely terrible end would just fill me with guilt for the rest of my life. So if he has to die, and the doctors tell us that he will, then I just want it to be painless, with as much dignity as possible, and just quick. So I want to see the law changed, and we need to fight it now before Ian becomes too sick.
Very good. Oh, little Ian. Little Ian.
2-year-old Ian Stewart can barely see or hear and is constantly in distress. His parents feel he should be released from further suffering when his condition deteriorates.
Euthanasia is the deliberate killing of a person who is suffering greatly, and the killing perhaps by a doctor or a relative or other person. And the deliberate killing in law would amount to murder or possibly, depending on the circumstances, manslaughter.
Got you. Got you. Got you. Got you.
There have been attempts going back as far as the 1930s to introduce legislation by way of authorising so-called mercy killing, for example, but this has never got off the ground at all.
When Ian was 4 months old, he underwent a life-saving heart operation, during which he suffered severe brain damage. For Jim and Bronwyn Stewart, the Ian they knew had disappeared forever.
Oh, it's irritating the way that you've got to pretend that somebody's got a quality of life. I mean, I'm his mother. I can see what he's going through. I can see he's suffering. Oh, dear.
Jim and Bronwyn have a 5-year-old daughter, Jessica, as well as Ian. And an unplanned third baby is due any day.
There we go. I find the doctors very hypocritical because on the one hand, they say, if you're expecting a child, I mean, like this baby, because it's unplanned, I could have gone and aborted. And I mean, if that's not killing, what is? But on the other hand, you have someone like Ian. He goes through that operation, he comes out totally smashed. I mean, he really was a screaming corpse. And then you're told, because of his neurological state, we won't do any more operations on him. So it's suffer, little baby, suffer until you die.
Unless someone cares for Ian's needs, which is one-to-one care, which he now requires as a result of that operation that caused the brain damage, he will start screaming, and that causes his spasticity to get worse, and it causes him to experience severe pain. And unfortunately, that person that has to meet his needs is us. It isn't just Ian's life that's destroyed. We as a family are destroyed as well, having to care for him 24 hours every single day.
Here we go.
Jim and Bronwyn Stewart are both chartered accountants. They left South Africa 8 years ago to settle in England. In spite of their circumstances, they try to lead a normal family life.
Well, you can play around with it.
It's Jessica's 5th birthday.
I think what should happen is this should actually come here at the end.
Right.
You see, like they've got that there, and then this goes on top like that. Maybe these should go that way. No.
I like that. No icing.
And then Mummy's got to ice it and put the masts on and the sail. And who's that, Jess?
Crocodile.
Is that got the top clock in it?
Yeah.
It does worry me that when I have this baby, this baby's going to need a lot of time. A newborn always does. And I won't have that time that I really do need, as well as give Ian the full-time attention that he needs.
Oh! I told her that.
Jim is taking Jessica and Ian to meet their new baby sister, Michaela.
Oh, Jess. Let's go and get Mummy a surprise.
Mum!
Hello.
Beautiful. Oh, thank you, Jess. Which one's for the baby?
Yeah, Jessie
These
picked
for
them all.
you, baby. And these for you.
Thank you. Hello, Ian. I was very, very worried about going into hospital and having a baby this time. And I had all these doubts going through my mind. And in fact, when Jessica came in, she said, is she normal or is she going to be like Ian? And I think those words spoke for all of us. What do you think of her hands and her arms?
Tiny.
I feel more sad now about what's happened because the way Michaela looks, even at this tender age, is so different to the way Ian looks.
Oh, nice.
It's like he's locked away where she's coming out. And it's incredible. I never thought that I'd see these things in a baby of a day old. And it just emphasizes what has happened to Ian. He's really owed a peaceful exit. I mean, it's a horrible thing to think about, and especially when you've just had this beautiful little baby. I mean, you look at her and you think, should I be thinking these things, you know? How can I think that about my other child? And yet it doesn't go away. You know, I've thought about it a lot more.
Ian was born on the 24th of May, 1993, in Somerset. At first, he seemed to be a perfectly healthy baby.
His name is Ian Robert Stewart. When I wanted to be discharged from hospital, the paediatrician told us right there and then that Ian would need major heart surgery within the next 4 to 6 months, and that if he didn't have that operation, he would die within the first year of his life. I really prayed for a miracle at that time. And I so hoped that somehow this heart would repair itself, that he wouldn't need an operation.
Today is the 26th of September, 1993.
But when I held him, you could hear how his heart was racing. So in that way, he wasn't normal. But developmentally and neurologically, he was all there. There is no doubt in anyone's mind that he was a normal little boy.
The Stewarts were told that the operation would have to be done quickly. Within weeks, a meeting was arranged with a senior heart surgeon at the Bristol Royal Infirmary.
We met Mr. Wishart on 2 occasions. The first time I was on my own, and he explained to me exactly the type of surgery that Ian would require, and he drew a diagram, and I can remember thinking he has to restructure the whole upper half of Ian's heart. I mean, this is an horrific operation. What they had to do was put in a tube, which they call a homograft. They actually get that from another baby, and that would not grow with Ian. That would need replacing at a later stage. He also said that Ian only had a 50% chance of survival. He told us that brain damage does occur during these heart operations, but he said quite honestly, today it is so remote that it just doesn't happen, and when it does, we know. And we said, if it does occur, please let him go.
we feel it would be fairer to him to let him go. I could face Ian's death, but I couldn't face having a brain-damaged child.
At just 4 months, Ian underwent open heart surgery to insert the homograft, a human artery transplant. The operation lasted 8 hours. Afterwards, the surgeon told the stewards that although there had been some complications, the operation was a success.
It was when they started weaning him off the drugs, and he just seemed so incredibly unresponsive. I mean, that's when I felt ill. And then a pediatric cardiologist came by, and we were reassured and told that it's the drugs and you've got to give them time to wear off, and then he will bounce back. And a few days later, she came back and it was nothing, no response at all. And so she said, well, she will get this neurologist and he will look at Ian. And I remember, the neurologist came later that afternoon, and all he said was, Ian is brain damaged. It happened during the bypass operation. And for me, it was confirmation of what I already knew. It was the worst outcome that we thought could happen, and it had happened.
I just broke down and I cried for the rest of the day, and I cried every day for a month thereafter. And I'm still coming to grips with exactly what the impact on us and on Ian is.
Within weeks of Ian leaving hospital, Jim Stewart was offered a new job with a mining company in Queensland, and the family left for Australia. They'd been told by the Bristol hospital that they would soon see some improvement in Ian's neurological condition.
Roll, roll, roll our Ian gently on the mat. Merrily, 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 life is not a dream. Roll, roll, roll our Ian. For 8 months, Ian cried inconsolably day and night. He'd fall into an exhausted sleep. You know, it was pure exhaustion that he finally slept, and he'd wake up screaming. The little person that you couldn't console, that you just didn't know what to do with. It was stiff and rigid, that didn't see, didn't hear. I mean, it wasn't Ian. But I clung to the hope that he would still recover to have a quality of life, and a good quality of life.
The stewards sought help for Ian, taking him from one doctor to another all around Australia. They also explored a range of alternative therapies.
I hoped that if one gave him all the love, attention and all the stimulation, that he would somehow then just start developing as a normal baby did again, and that in time one would see the smiles appearing again, and he would gradually just start coming back.
You see how there used to be a path down here? People used to go bumping their way down here, bump, 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 bump.
Every day I used to leave with Ian screaming in the morning, and I'd return with him screaming, and Bronwyn as often as not in tears. And over the weekend I would spend the nights up with Ian, and 1 or 2 of the nights during the week, it would be my rota, my sort of shift, just so that Bronwyn could catch up on a bit of sleep.
Yeah, you want to throw across that?
We just finally were falling apart as a family. I had no option but to give up work and help my wife and look after my son.
Oh, I like trying to bounce them, just.
Here's some.
Come on, darling. There we go. Oh, yes. Yes, you like those, don't you? Now, look at these faces. Oh, do you like those faces? We'd also seen a neurologist at that stage, and he basically had no hope at all for Ian. He said to us that your child has really suffered so much damage that he is going to be absolutely and totally dependent for the rest of his life. And when we came out of there, I just turned around to Jim and I said, well, why didn't he tell us where the euthanasia clinic was? We began thinking about ways of ending his life and also our own, because to us life seemed so pointless then.
Go on, 7 seconds. 1, 2, 3.
I'm sure we would have taken our own lives, because the one way we knew we could do it without Ian suffering was to gas yourself in a car. But then we thought, well, what about Jessica?
You have to get your trainers off, Jess. Okay. Okay.
And it's really her that stopped us from doing that. And in a way, it's also Jessica that kept us sane.
Careful, just not too fast. That's fast enough. Oh.
There was to be another blow for the Stuarts. In Brisbane, a child heart specialist said there would be no point in giving Ian his vital second heart operation because of the severity of his brain damage. Without the larger replacement homograft, it's unlikely that Ian will survive early childhood, and he faces a prolonged and distressing death. The Stuarts felt they had no option but to explore the possibility of euthanasia, and so they wrote to a clinic in Holland.
We asked whether the Netherlands did euthanasia on children, and we wrote to the pediatrician in Holland and received his reply that unfortunately they don't, and that our best hope for Ian is pneumonia.
Unsuccessful in their quest for euthanasia, the Stuarts left Australia last April to settle in Sidmouth in Devon. Ian was now nearly 2 years old. He still appeared to be suffering, and his crying was inconsolable.
Hey, come on. Got you.
Crying, on the whole, isn't a very good indication of pain for most children, particularly of this sort of age. And I think it's very difficult to know with young children who can't speak and express themselves whether or not they're having pain, and if so, how much. If the pain was severe and difficult for him, which it would be, and we weren't able to treat it in another way, then in every patient of any age, we would consider using the most powerful, what we call analgesic, pain-relieving drugs. And morphia would be one of those. But the concern always using an opiate is that it is addictive, in the sense that it's biologically addictive. The more you have, the more you need.
I don't know what to do for you. You know, really don't.
Ian is given no medication for pain relief, and Jim and Bronwyn have to divide their time between comforting him and looking after their other children.
Look out there. Just to show you something. You see this, you've got the one boy, the one yellow boy.
Whenever I'll see parents out with their children, playing with them, just walking along the beach, just doing what normal people would do on a normal afternoon. I know that we can't do that anymore. We've tried taking Ian to the beach, and the problem is that there's nothing there for him.
Come on, come on. Would you like to get out? Oh, come on, my little bubba. Hey, you're feeling a bit stiff, are you?
And I look at Jessica as well. I see other children playing with their brothers and sisters and fighting with them as well. And I so wish that she could have that relationship with Ian.
See the crack in it? The crack in the cliff.
Let's change it. Yeah. Feel nice and comfortable and clean. Oh dear, Ian. Hey, 5:30, we're up again. Oh, Ian, for God's sake, please, Ian. Hey? What's the matter? Is he waking you up? I don't know what to do with that. Just shut the door and try and get back to bed. I mean, it's late. You've got school tomorrow. He's like in pain. Now we can hear you in pain. How's Jess? She popped down here a few minutes ago. Oh, no, you can't sleep.
He had a very, very bad night last night, so we just couldn't get him to sleep. And Jim actually was up with him from 11 on and off until 2. And then I took him from 2 to 3:30. And he was quite distraught. I mean, he was, it was very hard to actually pacify him. And then I finally, put him down again, and I did get him to sleep. Then he woke up about, it must have been 3/4 an hour later, but I went in and I managed to get him to sleep again quite quickly. And then Jim was up with him from 5 o'clock again.
Ian's condition is frequently monitored by the local health authority for any improvement or deterioration.
Okay, let's see if we can sort of... Right. This one gets the impression he's possibly looking at me and seeing me just then. Yeah, I do wonder. Because he seems much more... I think he's a bit more alert than he used to be.
I can see right to the back of the eye, so there are not any cataracts.
Come on. Come on. It's
Sorry. Alright. The nerve at the back of each eye looks healthy, as does the middle of the retina. Alright, good. Okay. So basically, both eyes are quite normal. But as you've probably gathered, in order to see usefully, the nerve impulses from the eyes have to go to the back part of the brain to be made sense of. And it's very likely that he suffered some damage there.
Caught it, yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Hello, Mum. Hi, Jessie. Who's that for?
Oh, well, we'll have to look and see, won't we?
Anne Skinner is a voluntary worker, one of 3 provided by social services for respite care. Anne helps out for a total of 2 hours a week.
Do you like those?
There.
Thank you.
Oh,
What are they? What are they?
Hello.
Oh, hi, Jem.
Thank you. Thank you.
He's just woken up.
Yeah, I just changed his nappy as well. He seems to have a bit of a loose stomach at the
Does
moment.
he? Oh, dear.
As far as care goes, it's really up to us just to carry the load.
Hello. And how are you then?
We initially had about 5 or 6 hours and got it up to 8 hours with a lot of fighting. And it wouldn't surprise me in the least if it does get cut back. It's really a joke at this stage. It's just a daily struggle, a daily grind just to get Jessica to school, and we sort of juggle babies, and it's I mean we're not coping at all well.
Get him off. Let's get it. Some chicken, please.
You get up in the morning and we put on as cheerful a front as we can, and as soon as one baby's sleeping or what have you, the other partner can rush around and clean up the dishes, maybe do a bit of shopping with Ian slung over the one shoulder and push the trolley around and have him draped there. And I mean that's how one copes. It's just day to day.
Jim Stewart's been unable to return to work. He now sees his role as a full-time unpaid carer for Ian.
Jim, if you were given sufficient help at home, would you change your decision about wanting euthanasia for Ian?
No, not when Ian starts to suffer. That it's really two questions. When Ian does eventually die, I don't want him dying from untreated pneumonia. The decision regarding euthanasia wouldn't change at all.
I want my There were 6 fat sausages sitting in the pan. One went pop and another went bang.
In England, the Stewarts' crusade for active euthanasia continued. Early last summer, they appealed to the medical authorities to let Ian die by lethal injection when his suffering becomes unbearable. They feel that passive euthanasia, the withdrawal of medicine and sustenance, is less humane. By July, the Stewarts decided to test the issue of active euthanasia through the media.
Funny.